Are we alone in the universe? A question that has preoccupied human minds for a millennia. But what has the Catholic Church to say about extraterrestrials? The answer may surprise you. Time to explore things visible and invisible. Paul, your writings surprisingly have garnered quite a lot of opposition from quite committed Christians and Catholics who say that you are being deceived, that really all of this extraterrestrial stuff, UFOs and such like, are really a demonic deception. How do you counter that claim?
It's a claim I've thought about from the first and very seriously. And in fact, I agree with those detractors and to a limited extent that some of the cases that are recorded of that claim to be alien encounters or seem to be alien encounters do seem to have the trademarks of diabolical activity. I've also written books about the church's teaching about demons. And so I know those, know the profile well, if you will. And there, especially where there are cases where someone's having what seems to be an alien encounter, and they'll say something like, "In the name of Jesus Christ, leave me alone," and the thing vanishes. Cases like that, I have no problem thinking that, yeah, that sounds demonic to me. So on that much, we agree that there are cases. The problem for me with the detractors is that they go from that anecdotal evidence to make a general statement that it's all that and can't be anything else but that. Now, why do they go there? I think probably for several reasons. One is that they think that somehow the teaching or the idea, the existence of non-human intelligence like that is contrary to the Christian, the Catholic faith. And so a big portion of my book was I thought to demonstrate pretty well that no, it's not. And that if they're going to call me deceived in this regard, they'd also have to say that about St. Augustine and St. Jerome and St. John Paul II and Padre Pio, a very famous saint of the 20th century, and others who affirmed the existence of such things. So I encourage them to go back. I think a lot of folks who make that claim have not actually, it's just too easy a claim to make. Let's just rule it all out as demonic.
They probably need to have a look at your book, because I was very surprised at how much detailed research you'd done, which was around quite famous figures in church history, famous philosophers, and as you said, St. Augustine, St. Thomas Aquinas, but other philosophers and some secular philosophers have wrestled with this idea, and it's a very philosophical idea. It's not a sort of science fiction idea. It's a philosophical idea about the nature of being. And so they probably need to go back and look at that. But I suppose, given the nature of some of the critics, and I've seen some of it online, the people that you're alluding to there, which are mostly saints in the Catholic Church, they're probably people that are going to convince them, right? I mean, if somebody like Padre Pio is coming out with something positive in this regard, that's going to make them stop and think, as opposed to maybe a medieval philosopher, right?
Yes, the problem I run into, there are folks who will say that and say, okay, I need to at least reconsider this. But what some of them, because they're so convinced already that, that it's all demonic, they've got to find some reason not to. They question the source that I have. And I actually have the source twice. I've gotten a translator and researcher, who's a friend of mine in Italy, to go and track down the original books where these statements were first published. And both of the authors in those books were very close to Padre Pio, and the books were actually published, or the first one, I think the second one maybe has been published now, by the same church-related organization that Padre Pio was a part of. So I think if the people saying that, writing the books had not been credible or not been known to those people, I kind of doubt that they would have published their book. Wasn't a big publisher in the first place. So would have been careful, I think, in who they publish. But all that to say, they'll try to grab at something like that. Well, I don't believe in that. Another response would be, well, he could have said it, but he's wrong. Okay, that's fine. But again, you've got to show me where the church actually definitively has said it's not true. Um, you've got to be willing to say all these folks that you otherwise highly respect are wrong. If you're going to call me a heretic, you've got to call them a heretic. But I'm just so convinced that if more people who have that position would just start studying the scientific aspect of what's going on right now, the congressional testimony, other things, it would be very hard to explain all that away as something diabolical. So much of it just doesn't fit a diabolical profile. I think I know the diabolical profiles pretty well.
Well,
You can go to extremes and arguing this. So, someone would say, well, let me back up. So, for instance, when the teachings about evolution and the Earth being older than many Christians had thought it was, came out, the scientific evidence for that. Especially when they found dinosaur bones, fossils. That was brought forth as evidence. Say, guys, look, it's here. This is, we've got physical evidence. And you had folks who responded by saying, well, that was crafted by the devil and buried in the earth in order to deceive us.
Mm-hmm.
Or even God himself made it in the earth to test our faith. You hear that and you think, okay, I see the extreme that they're going to try to ignore or explain away the evidence. It's a similar kind of thing here. I think you have folks saying, okay, if we do have craft that have been recovered, I'm convinced we are. There's just too many people, first hand, second hand, third hand, who've talked about it, and so many documents brought to light that if we have craft that's been around and studied for decades, is that really a demonic thing? You expect if the demons were involved, they would have it would have been just an apparition, a sighting, a hallucination kind of thing that they caused. So folks will come back and they'll say, well, actually, in exorcisms, sometimes the person who's possessed will actually have nails come out of their mouth, and those nails are still around. So no, it's the same thing. That's really grasping at straws, to me, to say that all the other stuff that the demons are behind every one of those things. What I would hope for, one of the papers I wrote, I was asked to write by an organization called the Soul Foundation, which has brought together scholars from all kinds of fields to study unidentified aerial phenomena, what used to be called UFOs and associated phenomena. And gave a talk at their first symposium in San Francisco at Stanford a couple of Novembers ago. And they asked me to write a white paper and say, what would you say to the church about how we need to be looking at this, talking about it, preparing for what could be a disclosure of these things by the government or by scientists or someone else? So that'd be another thing I would encourage people that might want to look at. It's the Soul, SOL Foundation. And when you get there, go to the white papers and you'll see the one with my name on it. But in that, I talk about what are the questions we need to be asking.
Sure.
Does the church want to be unprepared? And if we begin to have evidence that's really hard to argue against, that these things are real.
So, I mean, I suppose that does beg the question, though, Paul. I mean, this is a very interesting theoretical discussion. It's a very interesting philosophical discussion, as I said, about the nature of being. But for the average Catholic, it probably doesn't have much impact on their life, right?
For most, excuse me, probably not. If they come up against it and they've been told that it's all demonic, then they'll just run the other direction. I will say this: I've talked to priests, and this is not a new phenomenon. Who, of course, they wouldn't give me details because that's all confidential. But they can speak in generalities of people who come to them and have had encounters that they can't understand, troubles them deeply. They think there must be the faith must have something to do with this or be able to comment on it and take it to pastors. And so one of the things in that paper that I recommend is that the church needs to be talking about this so it can give some guidance to confessors, to priests who are hearing these confessions. How do you help someone in that situation? For the longest time, for ages, the church has a protocol with cases that are being presented as demonic, that first of all, we need to make sure it's not something medical, something psychological, emotional. When someone comes saying, I want some kind of exorcism. And so they go through those protocols first. And then if they have reason to believe it's none of that it may have a spiritual source, then there's certain tests that they do and that kind of thing. And they, excuse me, accompany them pastorally all along the way. But they don't just dismiss it as you're crazy, and they don't also say right away, oh, it's definitely a demon, you need an exorcism. I think we need a similar kind of thing here, where if there are cases where it's demonic, to be able to help the pastor to discern when it's demonic and when it actually is something else that's not demonic, but we just haven't understood yet, and to give them pastoral care. So at least in those cases, which are probably rare, but I'm tending to think the more people I talk to that it's more often than we have assumed. That's one reason why the church needs to be talking about it, because it's affecting some people's lives directly now. Before the others, yeah, I think it'll, most folks are figuring out how they're going to put the food on the table and pay the rent or the mortgage. And I understand that. So it's not like I understand. Anytime it comes up, somebody will usually say, Paul, what are you writing about these days? And I'll mention that. I don't expect them to say, oh, right away, I want to hear more about it. However, it's interesting, the demographic difference. Again, I don't usually start off talking about it, but people know that I've written books for nearly 40 years and that assume I'm usually writing some. So they'll say, what have you written recently? And I'll look at them and I'll think about their age. So when I tell them, I'm figuring if they're a certain older age, they will almost always look at me and like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat and say, why would you write about that?
Right.
But if the folks are in their 30s or even early 40s or below, then a lot of them say, I have wondered about that for so long. Talk to me about it. So at least there is an interest, I think, more so in the younger generation, although I grew up on Star Wars and before that, War of the Worlds and other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting how the demographics change around this subject. And I guess as well, Paul, I mean, it's interesting that some people are very interested and exercised by this subject. Other people just not interested at all. When I was reading your book, a Catholic said to me, why are you wasting your time with that? Which I'm sure you've heard many, many times. What sort of reaction have you had? I mean, have you had other Catholics who have come out of the woodwork and said, I'm so glad, Dr. Thigpen, that you're writing about this?
Oh, yes, I have. I can't give any details, of course, but one particular person had some experiences he could not just write off as errors in detection devices in the military, and said it troubled him so much and he couldn't find any place where he could somehow fit this into his Catholic faith that he, excuse me, came across my book and read it, and he said it saved me from losing my faith. He was that explicit about it. It was even a lot more about it than that. But I've met more than one person like that who said it kept me from losing my faith over this issue because it gave me a context for understanding it that was still within a Catholic framework. So yeah, I've had individuals like that and others who just said, I've always been interested. Thank you. Now it's helping me make sense of things, or at least opening my mind to other possibilities. The the folks who are the loudest about it are the adversaries, you might say, the critics. That's okay. I expect that, especially because they feel as if it does threaten their faith. And another thing I should say about that whole kind of adversarial movement is they tend to be deeply involved in apocalyptic and millennial speculation. That's also a subject of my study over the years. I've taught courses, and I wrote a book years ago called The Rapture Trap, a Catholic response to end times fever. And that's something that just comes up perennially, and people will take whatever they can from the headlines and try to plug it in there. A lot of the folks that are opposing it have tied it into, it's almost like a whole mythology of how this is the great deception mentioned in the gospel in the end times, because there'll be signs and wonders in the sky, and therefore it's a great temptation by the devil to try to make us lose our faith. And the whole thing that even that the government's in on it, that the UN's in on it, everybody's in on it, to begin introducing us to the notion that we're being visited, so that at some point they can say we're being invaded or we're being threatened, and therefore we need a one world government to fight against it. And then by making that one world government, they will turn it over into the hands of the Antichrist, the great figure at the end of the world. And so they weave a whole mythology out of it. And so I've had people say publicly, Thigpen's helping set up the world for the Antichrist. And when someone's that deep, and I don't know exactly what to say, except I'll pray for you. But I do urge you to study it a little more and not just listen in the echo chamber of people who are saying that.
Well, although I am enraptured with your research and your erudition on this subject, I'm afraid the clock has beaten us again, Dr. Paul. So just tell people where they can find out more about you and where they can pick up a copy of the Catholic Church and Extraterrestrials.
Yes, thanks. It's published by TAN Books, TAN. So online you can go to onewordtanbooks.com and then look for it there. You'll find it. You could also get it from your local Catholic bookstore. You can get it from Amazon. So a whole lot of places that it's available.
For the moment, Dr. Paul Thigpen, thank you very much for coming on Things Visible and Invisible.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Things Visible and Invisible. We're dedicated to uncovering phenomena that challenge our understanding of reality, from ancient enigmas and paranormal encounters to scientific anomalies and forgotten histories. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysterious and unexplained, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the notification bell to stay updated on future explorations. Have a personal experience or story that aligns with our investigations? We'd love to hear from you. Visit our website at tvi.show and reach out through our contact form. While we can't feature every submission, we review them all, and your story might be featured in an upcoming episode. To support our continued investigations, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter or channel member. Your contributions make these explorations possible and give you access to exclusive content, early releases, and monthly behind-the-scenes discussions with our team. Don't forget to check out our merch store. We've got everything from TVI-branded t-shirts and hoodies to stickers and coffee mugs, perfect for showing your support while keeping the mysteries close. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time as we continue to explore the things visible and invisible.